Peace and light that I'll go Australia. This is an unusual one because I'm kneeling down here. There's nowhere to sit. But I wanted to do this away from distractions, I guess. And as it turns out, I've got plenty of distractions. And I've got to wear glasses because I've got to read what I've got to read you. I've got to read it from a message. Now, I want to issue a fair warning here. This video is going to be pretty disturbing for a lot of people. And it's going to be very hard for me to make, to be honest. And you'll understand why as I get into it. But fair warning, you may find some of the content of this video distressing and quite difficult to handle. So I'd suggest that if you're that way inclined, you might want to reconsider watching this. It is to do with the jab, and I just want to make it perfectly clear that I have full permission from this particular person to share her story, and it's quite a distressing story. Now, I want to preempt this by saying that I've got a friend who continues to say to me, I do not know one single person who has suffered an adverse reaction, and I keep saying to him, look, you've got hundreds. It's just that the doctors aren't telling you that. They're telling them, oh, we don't know what it is, or it's this, or you're allergic to something, or whatever might be the case. Oh, you've got a heat rash, you've got shingles, or whatever. There's so many things going on, and so much that the doctors are gagged, still fully gagged by APFRA under their health orders, and they're not allowed to ascribe what's happening to the jab. There's no correlation allowed to be given. In very few cases, we've now got over 730,000 adverse reactions in Australia alone. I mean, it's horrendous. I don't want to even go into it because it's so difficult to talk about what ATAGI and the TGA have been hiding, and what the government under Morrison hid, and what has now transpired in New South Wales. I'm getting off the track here, but we had a previous Liberal Premier of New South Wales, Dom Perrottet, who came out and publicly stated that the jabs don't work. They didn't stop transmission, didn't stop infection, and that the QR coding itself was a waste of time because it was a bit of a hoax, really, to appease the people, and that none of the offices where the data was reportedly being collected were actually staffed. There's no one there. And he came out and said this, and then subsequently he's lost the election. It's been won by Labor's Chris Minns, who has made no bones about his admiration for Dom Perrottet, and has excitedly said that can't wait to catch up with him because we keep telling you two wings, one bird, same bird. And you'll notice around the world in a lot of these particular situations, like with New Zealand, the reins of power are being handed over. This is not something that's just happening, and it's not something to do with the people. This is absolutely 100% set about. They know what they're doing. They can only have a certain person in power for a certain amount of time, and that person becomes disliked, so they change them for another one, and the people think it's going to be changed, and then they bring it in. Dom Perrottet was on TV saying that the government had no hand in mandates. The very first thing Chris Minns did when he came in as a Labor Premier for New South Wales was to reinstate the third jab as a mandated requirement for all health workers. Now that shuts the industry down completely, and the next day, 2 days later, the Labor Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, announced that 650,000 immigrants were going to be brought to Australia. These are to replace jobs, by the way, mainly in the healthcare industry where workers have been stood down. They can get them into the country and pay them $12 an hour plus a government subsidy, and happy days for them. But people in the healthcare industry, whether you're a paramedic, ambulance driver, whether you're a doctor, nurse, healthcare worker, aged care worker, youth worker, anybody in the healthcare system who has refused this job, and we've got over 45,000 of those people, have now lost their jobs for good, basically. It's not going to happen anymore. Isn't that sad? So anyway, on to this lady, and this is quite a story in itself, and I just want you to know what transpired here. A lady sent me a friend request some time ago, well actually not that long ago, 6 months ago or something, and normally, I check out their profiles, make sure they're okay, and they're as legit as I can see. I accepted the request. I could see that she was a full-on Christian lady, and at that moment, it just so happened that I was doing a bit of an article on, or some investigation, a little bit of research, and asking hundreds of Christians worldwide where they stood, not only on the injection, but on everything surrounding it. And of course, the diversity of the answers to that is what makes up the basis of my opinions and my research, and that's what I've been looking at. And so, you know, as we know, during the pandemic, the government clearly showed the public that if they wanted to at any time, they could just shut the churches down. Churches were powerless against the government. They shut them down. You can't open your doors, you can't sing. When you can sing, you've got to wear a mask. When you've got to wear a mask, you can't go with 1.5 metres. You can't hug anybody. You can't sing hymns. You know, all this frickin' rubbish that went on with, you know, remember, can't catch the football at the footy? It's covered in COVID. So anyway, all these absolute lies were told, and they showed the world that they could shut down the Christian community easily, and they did. So I began asking this lady questions, as I have to every other Christian, about how they felt about this, and I found out that she was injected. And of course that then got me on that, because then I started to smell blood in the water. I'm like, okay, you say you're a Christian, but you got injected, so what? Well, you know, what was it? Did God tell you to get injected? If he did, why didn't he tell everybody? Anyway, that kind of thing. I'm a bit of a dickhead at this stuff. But anyway, it wasn't long into the conversation with her, over a period of weeks, here and there, spasmodically, that it came to light that she had been, and I'll use her language, praying for a new job. She wanted to move to up Queensland Way and see her grandchildren, and she'd been praying for a job and accommodation, and suddenly her dream job came up. Now this woman is a masseuse, and lives a very, very healthy and very organic and very active lifestyle, is fully switched on in that respect. She moved to Queensland, got a chance to be with her children, her grandchildren, and the job that she was offered came with a stipulation: no jab. Queensland, of course, no jab, no job. And she didn't want to do it, did not want to do it, as millions didn't. And I'm not interested in the whys and therefores and all the excuses, because I will get to that in a minute, because I'm going to read you some of her stuff. But suffice to say this, right? She got the jab and nothing happened. So it was a bit of a non-event. And she began to work, and she went in for the second one because she had to have two, was a mandated thing, and she had a really bad reaction to the second one. I may get some of this wrong, but you can forgive me on that. But anyway, she had a bit of a bad reaction to the second one, and in the course of her, I'll just try and find my cursor, I can't see it in the bloody sunlight. In the course of her reaction to this jab, she saw numerous doctors, etc. Then was involved in a car accident where she had a bit of an episode and suffered injuries in the car accident, and needless to say, the dream job was turned into a bit of a nightmare in a lot of ways. She continued to work, and after she recovered, went back to work, and realised that she'd been lied to, and that's the basis of where I'm starting the story with her. Okay, so I'm going to read you. Her actual story, what she said to me. Is that okay? And I wrote to her and said, look, is that okay if I do that? She said yes, and I said, well, okay, I appreciate that. And so now I'm going to try and, here it is, I'm going to try and read it to you, and it's very, very dark here. Okay, so I found out she hadn't been well. Well, it was over a month ago that she said she wasn't well, and so I hadn't spoken to her since. And then I wrote back this morning and just said, oh, hope you're feeling better, pretty much that line. And she said, good morning, Owen, nice to hear from you. No, sadly, I'm very unwell since speaking. I'm trying to fight, but I'm on a slide going backwards. I've been to hospital twice, last Tuesday. Where are we? There we are. The emergency ward put me in acute code 3 ward and gave me a bed. My legs had both blown up to twice this size and discoloured with bright red rashes. They then turned dark purple and the bottom of my feet went black. My GP diagnosed me as cellulitis turning septic. I went straight to emergency after that, where they gave me urgent shots in my butt. Hospital staff have been very good in taking care of me. I had bloods taken. When I got the result, the two doctors on duty stood with me and they told me I'm in the fight of my life. I've been formally diagnosed with a rare, she puts it in inverted commas, rare blood vascular system disorder, cause unknown. Basically, I've gone into an autoimmune response and my body is attacking itself. It will eventually destroy my capillaries, veins and entire vascular system. It will affect every vital organ in my body, and it's already happening. My heart is definitely under attack. I've been to the top cardio specialists here on the Gold Coast. They've concurred that I have arrhythmia, AF, irregular heartbeats out of control at times, even when I'm at rest. I have high blood pressure, something I have never suffered from in my entire life. On Tuesday, 26th of March, I bled from my bowel so profusely it scared me. They tell me it's incurable. I am in God's hands now, Owen. Now, I read that, and of course you have to respond, you know, and I didn't. I just wrote back and said that I have no words. I truly don't know what to say. Everything I would want to say just seems pretty blasé. I'm trying to comprehend what's going on, and even though I'm awake, I still can't wrap my head around the enormity of this evil. And then I asked her permission to share her video and her messages, and she wrote back and she said, I'm okay with it, Owen, that's okay. And then she wrote this. Bear with me. I'm a true blue Aussie woman who lived for my children, my friends, and those I've met along life's journey. I'm a very proud Australian woman, but not anymore. I trusted our government and our Chief Health Medical Officer and Dr. Nick Coatsworth and the hospitals and all the scientists saying that it was safe. You must be COVID-19 vaccinated. If you wish to enter Centrelink or an office of the government or an employment agency, you had to have, or have a job interview, you had to have the jab. I moved here to see my little grandson living on the Gold Coast. When I went to Benowa Tavern to get a job to start work in the bar, they clearly said to me, no jab, no job. In the end, I succumbed, and it was the worst decision of my life. Now I'm in for the fight of my life. Thank you for nothing, you evil hypocrites. And that's her story. I've never met this woman. I've never spoken to her. I don't know who she is, other than what I see on Facebook and social media. And yet I know thousands of people around the world, hundreds of thousands literally, in exactly the same position. If you belong to the groups that I belong to around the world and here in Australia, in Unvaxxed Australia, you would, Jab Injuries Australia, you would be aware of the situation that's facing many, many people. Now I hear, just excuse me, I'll take it. I don't know that person. But they obviously love their children and their grandchildren, and they moved there to be with them and to see them. And that may very well end up costing them their life. And I just find this, I can't, English is one of those languages. I was saying this to a friend the other day. All I can say is thank you. I wish I could say something in Spanish or Romanian or Italian or something that had some kind of length and depth and breadth. But English is just very dormant when it comes to this kind of expression of emotion. I got speaking to a young boy here on the south coast, and we'd arranged to meet up, actually last Saturday, believe it or not. And I got talking to him about, I can't go into it in any great detail because it would give too much away, but I got speaking to him about the injection, and he informed me that he'd been put in a position where, because of who he was, he had no choice but to take the jab and continue to take every jab that was mandated for him to receive the help that he needed. And we're meeting up last Saturday, and because I was sharing with him information that he had no idea about. He was absolutely clueless. He didn't know. He had no way of knowing what I know or anything about what I knew, and I only gave him basic facts. And he was saying to me, well, if I knew this, I would never have done this. I'd never have done this. I'd never have done this. And 4 days later, he passed away. He just dropped dead. I know there's millions of people like this around the world. The horror, the enormity of what's been done is, it's just mind-boggling. And as I've said to people, I can't not believe that these people will be brought to justice for what's transpired. And I just hope there's enough of us left when this all is said and done, because as Peter McCullough and others have said, 3 to 5 years, and there'll be 70% of us gone. And when they said they were going to bring Agenda 2030 forward, and Antonio Guterres from the UN said that he's spoken with Klaus Schwab and they were going to bring Agenda 2030 forward, they have put the foot on the pedal to the metal. And now it's all to do with non-binary, non-gender fluidity. They are pushing everything they can push. They are throwing everything they can throw. But there are amazing people people behind the scenes working against this. Millions of them. And I just keep thinking that and keeping it in the forefront of my mind, because otherwise I just lose hope. And I don't want to lose hope. I am absolutely gutted for that lady, and for the young guy, and for millions of others. I carry the burden within me. I have vowed to do whatever I can do from here on in, or not here on in, I've been doing it, writing to MPs, sending off so many emails, I don't even think they even look at them anymore. What little I can do, I try and do. And really that's all we can do. If the little of us do is something, then it's a number of drops to fill a bucket, And that's all I hope for. That enough of us will stand up and fight. And I don't care whether you've been injected or not. I mean, I've got so many people now coming up to me who have been injected, and they're just not wanting any more. They're just not wanting them anymore, not wanting anything, not understanding why they keep mandating these things. And but the horror that's unfolding worldwide. In Australia, we've hit 20% now of excess deaths. That's deaths that are just unexplainable. They're way above your normal mortality rates. 20%. This never happened until the bloody injection started. I mean, shit. Hey, where do you want to join the dots? Where do you want to start? If it wasn't then, and it's never been that way in the history of fucking Australia, and entire fucking history of the place, we now are at 20% excess deaths that nobody can fucking explain. And whoa, it's not the jab. What are you, a fucking moron? Seriously. You would have to be a total fucking idiot to not be able to look at that objectively and go, well, there's something to this. England, Germany, 30%. 30 fucking percent, and it's not coming down. You look at the graphs, they are spiking. They are not coming down. They are going up exponentially. Daily, weekly, monthly, they are going up. All sorts of cancers had never been seen before. People who have been in remission, suddenly they've fucking got cancers. Young children who've never had anything wrong with them, suddenly got brain tumours and they're dead 3 weeks later. We see these stories, thousands of them on a daily basis. Join these fucking groups like Jab Injuries Australia. Look at them and understand what the fuck is going on around the place. Their intention is clear. It's a perverted, sick world. And it's all about the children. It's all about the children. Covering up what they've been doing. Covering it up so you don't know what they've been doing with children. Anyway. Peace and light, that old guy Australia. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll catch you soon.